What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey Mailari. So last night, the Clippers lost their 8th game of the last 10 games played. They're 2-8 in the last 10. Kawhi Leonard had an unbelievable game. Paul George even played. Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson, everyone was there in the game. Besides, for the most part, Luke Kennard, he was out. Paul George still isn't playing 100%. He usually sits out games. He's not 100%, but it seems like it's desperation time for this Clippers team that finds themselves at 500 over halfway through the season now. And if you look at the Western Conference, it's stacked. So the Clippers really have to somehow figure things out within the next couple weeks. Things keep going downhill. They're going to have to make moves and make a trade. And you really just want to see this Clippers team fully healthy. Because who knows what this team could accomplish if they were fully healthy. Everyone was healthy in their lineup. Who knows what this team could accomplish. They could be NBA champions in a blink with how much talent they have and how much depth they have. And that's the thing with this Clippers team that I'm not really giving up on is their talent. They have it. It's just when are they going to put it all together? That's the question. When is this Clippers team going to put everything together? 1 through 12, every guy contributing, putting in solid minutes, getting boards, shooting threes, hitting mid-range shots, getting steals, getting blocks, and playing great defense. That's what they're really waiting on. They're waiting for everyone to put everything together. And you can't put everything together when guys are hurt. John Wall's still out. Luke Kennard's out. Luke Kennard's making the trip, though, for this West Coast trip they have. They play at the Utah Jazz tonight. The Clippers did lose to the Sixers last night, who have won 16 of their last 20 games. So it's not the worst loss last night, but considering the Clippers did have a 6-game losing streak and lost to some teams they should have beaten, that's when it becomes a problem. And Kawhi Leonard's looked unreal. He's back to form. Kawhi Leonard is back to the Kawhi Leonard that we all knew 2 years ago before the ACL injury. Kawhi Leonard is fully back. And that's why this Clippers team really doesn't have many excuses left to say with Kawhi being at the top of his game. Besides, I guess, injuries, but even when everyone was healthy, that Clippers team was not gelling like they should be. They're not gelling like they should be. And I know there's a lot of problems with the rotation and the way Ty Lue's been putting guys in and out of the game, and Robert Covington not playing meaningful minutes at all for around 2 months. Was it did not play or only played in the last couple minutes of garbage time? There's a lot of question marks about this Clippers team, and a lot of things have to be figured out. This team is way too good to be the 6th seed in the Western Conference and be 500 after the halfway mark of the season. They're so much better than that, and that's what they have to figure out. They have to find a way to put everything together. And time's really running out. WNBA star Candace Parker was in the studio last night in TNT studio with Shaquille O'Neal and then also Jamal Crawford, and was talking about the Clippers. And she said you have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, 2 guys that are built for the playoffs. And this Clippers team is built for the playoffs. Yes, she's not wrong. The Clippers are built for the playoffs. But the issue is I don't want them to find chemistry at the end of the season. You need them playing right now and gelling. Everyone gelling right now and building chemistry. You don't want to wait till April or May to figure things out. They need to figure things out now. And there's probably going to be a trade at some point. I'd imagine they're going to move some pieces because if you look at what they're dealing with right now, this team's just not winning. They can't shoot. They're abysmal in transition defense. Guys not getting back. And they turn the ball over a ton. The Clippers are just getting exposed. They don't have a backup big man. Ivica Zubac is great, but you don't have a backup when he comes out of the game. So that's the problem with this team. That's what they have to figure out. Who could fill in that spot when Zoo is on the bench? So I just named 4 things the Clippers have problems with. They haven't been shooting great. They're second to last in the NBA, 29th in the NBA in points per game. They're not great in transition defense. They're not playing really with a quick pace at all. And that's one thing that the Sixers and Doc Rivers were saying last night, that what we have to do is play with a quick transition, play with the pace, because that's what the Clippers don't want. They're not great in transition on defense. They are turning the ball over a ton. They can't really shoot well, and they don't have a backup center. So there's a lot of problems here. And then you also add in the problems with the rotation of guys going in and out of the lineup, injuries. There's a lot of problems with this team. They have a lot of things they have to figure out, and they need to figure it out very soon. They play the Jazz tonight. The Jazz are just a game behind the Clippers, 1 spot behind the Clippers in the Western Conference. They're the 7th seed, the Clippers are the 6th. The Clippers need to turn things around. And Jamal Crawford said it best, too, last night in the TNT studio after the game. We know what the Clippers are capable of. Just like what Candace Parker said, the Clippers are capable of turning a switch, flipping a switch, and taking over the league because they're built for the playoffs. Yes, they are built for the playoffs, but right now, as you have to find your chemistry, that's what they're not doing. They have not found their chemistry or their footing. They're standing at 23-23 over the halfway mark in the season. So there's not really much time left in this season for the Clippers to figure things out. 23-23 and have not really gelled at all, losing 8 of the last 10 games. So something has to flip for this team. Hopefully they find it soon, because if you look at what the Western Conference has looked like now in the first 3 months of the season, it's so deep. There's so many good teams. The Grizzlies, the Nuggets, the Pelicans. The Clippers have to figure things out. It has to be soon. It has to be soon if they want to keep themselves on track to try to win an NBA Finals. I still have not lost all confidence in them. They still have such a talented and deep roster. I think it's still the deepest roster in the NBA. But they have to figure things out soon. When are the Clippers going to flip the switch? Is it going to be now? Is it going to be in the next few weeks? Because the trade deadline's coming up. And at some point, they're going to have to make a move. And I think John Wall, Norman Powell, Reggie Jackson, and a few other pieces could be on the move by the time of the trade deadline. Because something is wrong with this Clippers team. They have to figure things out soon. There's no more excuses. You can't keep doing they'll figure things out by the end of the season. They have to figure things out now. The time is now for them to figure things out. They need some sense of urgency. You're 23-23. You lost 8 of the last 10. At one point, lost 6 or 7 in a row, including one to the Nuggets. That was a 35-point blowout. Something has to change. Kawhi Leonard has been balling, so you can't really blame it on, we don't have Kawhi healthy. Well, Kawhi's been healthy. Kawhi's been healthy, and he's been balling. Kawhi Leonard's been playing great basketball. Even last night was unreal. He's been playing great basketball. Last night, 27 points, 10 to 20 from the field, with 4 rebounds and an assist. His last 5 games, 29 points, 33 points, 24 points, 30 points, 27 points. And he's up to 19.4 points per game on the year, averaging 6.1 rebounds and 3.7 assists, and shooting 48.2% from the floor. And his minutes are also up. 38, 36, 38, 32, and 36 in the last 5 games. So Kawhi Leonard's back. You can't blame it on that. Paul George is even playing hurt. So something has to flip for this Clippers team, and the time is now for them to figure things out. They need some sense of urgency. Look around the Western Conference, like I said. There's teams that are balling out right now, and the Clippers just continue to go further and further down. Tonight in Utah, a team that the Clippers only have half a game of an advantage over. They're the 7th seed in the West. The Clippers are the 6th. The Clippers are without Luke Kennard, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and John Wall tonight. So things just continue to go further and further down for this Clippers team. They need to figure things out very soon. And Candace Parker made a great point last night. She said this Clippers team reminds her of the Celtics team last year that in mid-January had struggles like this Clippers team. Then Marcus Smart held the whole team accountable, which Jamal Crawford pointed out. Took them all for a team meeting with other coaches and just went off on them. Kept everyone accountable, brought everyone together, and after that, the Celtics season turned around. They went on a huge run and then ended up making the NBA Finals. The Clippers need to hold everyone accountable. And Jamal Crawford pointed it out, and he said it best. This Clippers team is just waiting, and that's what Candace Parker said. They're waiting to flip a switch. Because they know they can, they're just waiting, and that's the problem. You can't do any more waiting. They got to flip it now. The time is right now for the Clippers to turn things around. No more excuses. Ty Lue, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they have to figure it out. And it's not on Kawhi. Kawhi's been balling out. Paul George has a hamstring injury that he's playing through, even though he will be out tonight since the back-to-back. He has been playing through that hamstring injury. Now, last game he did play. Clippers still lost last night against the Sixers, as I said. Kawhi Leonard was fantastic in that game. And besides that, the Clippers really didn't have much scoring from any other players. Norman Powell hit a couple threes in garbage time, finished the game, I believe, with 16 points. But the Clippers need help. They need help. Terrence Mann's been balling out. He had 31 points on Sunday against the Houston Rockets. The Clippers got a big win against them, and even though the Rockets aren't a good team, the Clippers are losing so many games, they need every win they can get. So no matter who the Clippers are playing at the end of the day, they need to get the win. There's no more excuses. Tonight against the Utah Jazz, huge game for the Clippers. They lose this game, they fall below the Jazz. The Jazz get a half a game over them. And it doesn't seem like a lot since they're 23-23, so they're 46 games into the season, just over the halfway mark, 5 games over the halfway mark. So all in all, they still have 36 games to go. But something has to flip. The time is now for the Clippers to flip the switch and get back on track. And everyone knows I'm a big Clippers fan. I love the way they play the game. They give it their all every single possession. Night in and night out, they show up and give it their all. But that Clippers team I'm describing seems like the Clippers team from last year and 2 years ago. It doesn't seem like the Clippers team this year. They're not fighting as hard as they typically would. They're giving up in games they typically would come back and win. They're a great third-quarter basketball team. They are still a second-half team. They still come back and make games close in the second half. But they lose games. They don't know how to close games. Last night, 37 points in the third quarter, only 10 points in the fourth. And a lot of that has to do with the shots they're taking. They're relying on the 3-ball way too much. For a team that's second to last in scoring in the NBA, second to last in scoring in the NBA. With all that depth, and they are second to last in scoring in the NBA, they shouldn't be relying on threes. They got to go to the basket. And really only Norman Powell is the one that would drive and take it to the rim. Kawhi Leonard will. Paul George is has done it less, obviously, with that hamstring injury. Reggie Jackson can still get to the cup. He has to do it more. I know everyone's lost confidence in Reggie, but the Clippers were the team they were last year and 2 years ago because Reggie Jackson was such a go-to player, and they need that again this year. They need Reggie to get back to those ways. They need that. And then another guy, Terrence Mann, he's driving to the lane pretty well. But they need someone to switch up the pace of the game. They need someone who's going to take it to the cup and force defenses to not play a perimeter defense against the Clippers, because they've been playing perimeter ball against the Clippers, and the Clippers obviously can't shoot well. So when you put a guy with their hand in their face, they're even more likely to miss. So something has to flip for this team. They are more than capable of flipping a switch and turning the entire season around and taking the NBA by storm because of how much talent they have. I'm not saying that's going to happen 100%. I'm not saying it's a definite thing that's going to happen in the future, and I'd bet on it. But everyone knows what this team's capable of when they're fully healthy. And that's why I worry about this team, that they're going to have to make a move. They're going to trade a couple pieces to try to get a backup big man to come off the bench because they really can't wait anymore. Once a trade deadline passes, this team's just going to be the team we're running with. And even though I'd love for that to happen because I think this team is more than capable of winning, you can't think Lawrence Rank in the front office isn't going to make a move. Considering how bad they've been playing and have not been playing good basketball, they have to make a change. Adjustments have to be made. And I don't want to blame Ty Lue for everything, but he's been struggling to get a solid rotation and get guys minutes when they should be playing, especially late in games. Terrence Mann wouldn't even play in the fourth quarter. Robert Covington, who's one of the most versatile players in the league, both ways on the floor. He can play good defense and also can shoot some threes. He was a did not play or an inactive player on the bench in 18 of the first 39 games of the season for the Clippers. So there's a lot of things that you can look at with this Clippers team and say, they got to fix this, they have to fix that. Obviously, health is an issue. But even when guys are healthy, they're still missing a ton of shots, taking bad shots, turning the ball over. No one wants to drive. They only have one big man, Ivica Zubac. I mean, I know Moses Brown gets minutes off the bench. I know Moussa Diabate as well could get some minutes as well. But Diabate's really a G League player, and Moses Brown only gets very scarce minutes. He hasn't really played too much. But there's a lot of problems with this Clippers team. Perimeter defense. One thing that they've been struggling with. The Nuggets lit the Clippers up from three. The Clippers in transition on defense. They're not getting back. Teams love to play with a quick pace against the Clippers like the Nuggets did, and even like the Sixers last night in the fourth quarter, because they know the Clippers are a lot easier to play against when they don't set up their defense. Another thing, costly turnovers. They've been turning the ball over in a blink. Costly turnovers. And then also factor in, the Clippers love playing with four guys around the perimeter and just Zubac in the paint. And then they just love to shoot threes. No one drives down the lane and makes the defense stay honest. So there's a lot of problems with this team, but hopefully they get it figured out. This team is good enough to win the NBA Finals. Obviously, they're not playing that way right now, and they still right now are the 6th seed in the West. But being 23-23 right now, something has to switch. Last year, they were 42-40, and that was without Paul George for the majority of the season, Kawhi Leonard for none, and we're without Norman Powell for most of the season as well after they traded from. So something has to switch for this team, though, and hopefully they get it soon. Ty Lue, I still have trust in you. I still have trust in the Clippers, but something has to get figured out. This team needs to get that dog Clipper mentality that they had for years. They have to get that Clipper mentality back and go to work. They have to. Fight for every possession like they would. That's the main reason I started being a Clippers fan. I love Paul George, and I started following them a little bit in the 2019-2020 season, my freshman year at BC. But the main reason I became a fan of them is because every single guy in that team and on that roster plays with the mentality I love. Hustle, hot, play aggressive, play tough, and give it your all every single possession. They never give up. They never give up. The Clippers were so resilient over the last few seasons. That's why I know this team can turn it around. They can flip a switch and get back on track. They need to do it, though, now. Candace Parker, Jamal Crawford, they were both right on TNT last night. Obviously, the Clippers are underperforming, but everybody knows what this team's capable of if they put everything together. And they have to do it soon. The window of winning now is closing. Win now mode is probably only a couple more seasons for this Clippers team. They have to turn it around now and get back on track. Everyone knows what this team can do. Everyone knows that this team's a team they would not want to play against in the playoffs. The Clippers need to turn it around, as I said, and hopefully they get that tonight against the Utah Jazz. But as I said, they will be without Luke Kennard, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and John Wall. So look for Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Reggie Jackson, Robert Covington, Nick Batum, and Ivica Zubac to step up in tonight's game for that Clippers team, and Marcus Morris as well. Anyways, that does conclude this episode. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. As always, I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good one. Thank you.